It's Adam here on Primordial Radio, and for April, I'm really delighted to be joined by Shane from Those Damn CROWS. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you, and it's great to have you here a couple of days before the release of your brand new album, God-Shaped Hole. Nerves, excitement, a little bit of both?
Relief, to be quite honest. It's just because I feel like the album has been ready for such a long time. We did the album last year, and so we were just waiting for the date. It was going to be out in February this year. Then it got pushed back because of vinyl and all that stuff. All the things weren't ready in place. So I'm just glad we got a date for April, and I just can't wait for it to be out, man. I just want to start playing new songs live and stuff, and I'm just relieved it's coming out soon, you know.
Well, tell me a little bit about the recording, because I have in the past dabbled in music production, that kind of thing, and this album sounds stunning. Like, the production on it is like just top notch. So who are you working with on this album? Who produced it? Where were you? Where did you go?
This is with Dan Weller again, and he produced the last album too, Inhale Exhale. So we went to a couple of places. I did a lot of recording up in his studio up in London, up in Tottenham Hale. Majority of it was done in Marshall Records. And there was another recording studio which I've completely forgot. We did 2 songs there, but majority was in Marshall Records. And Dan's amazing, man. His production is incredible. It's never over the top. It's just the right amount, you know. It's never for production's sake. It always works for the song and the part. So yeah, working with Dan again was absolute joy because we've worked with him before.
Yeah, I was going to say it had everything that a modern album needs, just everything's clean, crisp. Yeah, it just sounds stunning. So I understand that you're definitely wanting to get it out there. But I wanted to ask a question about the name, because it's quite a hard-hitting name, God-Shaped Hole, very evocative. How did that come about?
Well, so there was a song that I was kind of dabbling in, and God-Shaped Hole was a title for a song. The boys loved it a couple of years ago. So when we were just trying to run names past each other for the new album, this was like one of the front runners. And then when you started thinking about the songs that I'd written, I had that title in my mind whilst writing the album. And it just kind of works, man. It's supposed to make you ask the questions. A lot of people, I've had some people from America and Canada asking if we're religious, if we're a Christian band, because it's God-Shaped Hole. But no, I just find the whole missing part in people's lives, they always focus on that, what's missing. And if I only had this, the right job, the right partner, my life would be much better. And I'd often hear that through religion, where God, I suppose, fills this void, and then all of a sudden their life feels more complete. But that's always interested me, to the point where I think it's mad how we always think about what we haven't got as opposed to what we have got, and having the gratitude for what we have got. It can be a great motivator, thinking what can make you more complete, whether you're trying to fight to get that job or be with a loved one and what have you. But these days I'm more focused on what I have got as opposed to what I haven't. So yeah, I've always found the missing part in people's lives. What is that about psychologically? And so I just dabbled in that really and wrote songs that kind of made sense within that blanket, I guess, of the title.
That's an incredible... It is an evocative title, and the way you described it there, this is one of the things I love about people who are creative and music and all of this, because I would never have gone down what you just said there, and that, how you describe the album title. I mean, from my personal background, I'm not religious, my wife is. So I have a lot of these sort of almost like theological discussions, because I personally, I really don't get it. And it's, I've never thought of it like that. And you've just given me a completely different food for thought, which I'm probably going to silently ponder on after this, of course, for like the next few weeks. Yeah,
my father was a huge, he was searching for God. As kids, we went to different churches and stuff around the area, and he was looking for something. He thought there was something missing in his life. And later on, he kind of started reading books and became more spiritual than religious. And I think that's what it is. We're all looking for that missing piece, but ultimately it's internal. You got to find it within yourself. I don't think it's out there as such. It's more in here and here. And if you can somehow focus on what you have got, like I said, I think that'll make you in a far happier place.
I mean, for me, what I'm getting now is it almost feels like God is that encompassing term. It's not necessarily a thing, but a term that fills that hole. Because I'm definitely someone who's always looking for the next thing, and I'd love to be able to get to a peaceful place of, being more satisfied with what I have and not trying to always push on. Yeah, interesting. And it's a great album cover as well. I know you said in the past that you're quite inspired by the 90s sort of looks of album covers for this one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We grew up kind of listening to all the 90s bands and stuff. And but it was when the guy who done the artwork is Alex Tilbrook. Again, we worked with him with Inhale Exhale. So we did the rib cage on the last album. And when I was like discussing about God-Shaped Hole and the discussion we've just had there, how deep it was and the meaningful and the dreams I've had, which perhaps we'll get on to later on. I just wanted this world, multiple worlds, a different dimension, different sort of perspective on life as we know it. And then we started talking about styles and artists that we like, the Dahlia, for example. And so all that came into fruition, really. And every single item you see on the album cover represents a song. It's a token for the song. So yeah, it was kind of deep, but Alex nailed it, man. He's so good.
It looks fantastic. And the 90s conversation is interesting. We started this conversation saying, the album got delayed because of vinyl and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When you were listening to music in the 90s, did you imagine that, say 30 odd years later, you would be still producing albums and putting them out on vinyl, and that being like one of the biggest selling parts of music?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I honestly, right until this moment, I've never actually sat down and thought that. No, it was never a thought of music we have created and seeing a vinyl, our own vinyl. No, that never ever crossed my mind. Create the music, 100%. I was always doing it as a kid. I had my little tape recorder with my microphone, little portable with batteries. Those massive batteries that cost a fortune back in the day, 6 of them in it. And I would just, yeah, exactly. And I would just like walk around with my little plastic radio mic and just record everything. But no, at no point did I think there would be vinyls with our band name on it and stuff. So it's kind of cool.
So we'll come back to talking about the new album, but I wanted to talk a little bit about your contemporaries, and I guess a big question to start that with is, what do you see the state of rock music right now? You get all people who probably passed in the media and, maybe this isn't their time now. They sort of critique it, say that, rock and roll's dead, things aren't happening. But you've picked, I'd say, 4 bands to talk about that, some have had longer careers than others. But where do you see it? Where do you see the genre? Is it in a great place right now? What's exciting you about rock in 2025?
It's a difficult question because I am from an era where there was probably more guitar-based music in the charts, more common, more popular than it is today. That's kind of fact. Now you've got these artists who blend or blur the lines when it comes to genres and styles, and Sleep Token, for one, is obviously killing it right now, probably the hottest band in the world right now, and they are somehow incorporating rock, R&B, there's a bit of pop, there's heavy metal. It's like they're doing something that probably no one has done before at the moment, and it's obviously under the veil of this, the vessel, obviously the mask and stuff, and it's visually breathtaking. It's unbelievable. I was more Slipknot, with the masks and stuff.
Yeah. So
it's changed completely, dude. So this is why when it came to, talking about contemporaries and touring artists, there was a mixed bag for me. Like Holden Absence are killing it right now. I love Lucas's voice. I think they could go on to huge things globally, and are doing so, touring America and stuff. But Sleep Token again. But there are bands in the 90s for me that were just, you don't see that anymore, which is sad for me. You know what I mean? It's just how songs are written, the rawness of rock music, probably isn't there as much as it was back in the day. So it's a real mixed bag for me, man. I'm not dissing anything new. But I have got 1 foot over here in the 90s and 1 foot in modern music, so it's difficult.
100%. And I got two angles I want to take this on. The first one is I was doing music production at university, and my dissertation was about the rise of home recording and the effect of that having on the quality of the product. Now, back then it was sort of decided, in my dissertation anyway, I said it does make for a worse product. I don't think that's the case anymore, because I think now people recording at home, they can get it sounding far better than I could in a studio, for example. But the availability of music and the fact that there is so much on there and it's so easy to get stuff on Spotify, and it kind of means that you've almost got too much choice. I think if a new album comes out tomorrow, there's another 100 from other bands as well. So maybe where you might have got 100 fans, you might get 10 across 10 bands. Do you see? I mean, obviously you're a very well supported band, so you've escaped that. But do you see that as a problem for new music coming through?
I do slightly. I was doing an interview with my guitarist Shiner, and for those people who know Shiner or know his personality, he doesn't say much. But when he's got something to say, man, does he ever go on a little rant, And he was basically saying that if we were back in the day, we'd be millionaires now, with the chart position and stuff, and so it is saturated market, there's no question. And Shiner put it as, there's a lot of stuff now that's throwaway. It doesn't last as long as perhaps, so if you brought out a single, that would be a time scale, how long that single's out for, and you plug it and blah. Now there's a single out, you do a video, it's out for a week, on to the next. It's literally, it feels like it's throwaway. So I don't necessarily think the quality's gone down. I just think how we perceive it now is just doesn't seem as like a possession, like it's, I've got the new single out, or I've got the new record, and you got the physical thing, and you've spent money on it, and you're invested in how it looks and stuff. Now it's just a case of, they released a new song 2 days ago. Oh, is it? Yeah. So-and-so did too. And it's just saturated. It's just so, everyone's doing it. So it's difficult. Again, man, 1 foot here, 1 foot there. It's difficult.
I think throwaway is a great term, because you can skip it within 30 seconds.
Exactly.
You don't like it, and you've not risked anything for that.
Yeah.
Sleep Token. Right, we've spoken about them a minute ago.
Yeah.
What they do is actually, I think in the rock world at least, quite controversial. Now, I don't know any feat in the R&B world or the other genres they dabble in, but I don't know if that's controversial there. But in the rock world, Primordial last month had a podcast about, are they overrated? And no one really doesn't care. Everyone seems to think they really are amazing or they really are overrated. Yeah. And that's kind of like I think there's a social media element in this as well, to build up on that controversy. That's getting them, people are talking about them.
Yeah.
So where do you stand on that? On the idea that, maybe some bands are, more known for their almost, they're cult bands, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. It's again, I'm on the fence, and I don't know. I'm not normally. I normally tell it like it is. But the truth is, I always say to the boys, if you look back to our first album, to our most current album, there is obviously an evolution in the songwriting, in the styles. And I'd always say to the boys, let's smash that glass ceiling. Just because we're a rock band doesn't mean we can't dabble in southern rock, classic rock, hard rock. Yes, we stay in, there's almost like folk songs or ballads that we've written that are gone on our albums that you could argue isn't rock. So I think what's amazing is I hate these labels, man. I hate them, because if you listen to Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, he didn't sound like he does now back in the early days on his albums. Everybody as an artist should have somewhere to go, something to say. So if you put Steve Tyler and said you only had to do that, and that was your voice when you recorded your first album, and you stay there, then you don't get what you got now, and you don't get the millions of streams or millions of record sales they've had throughout the years. everyone has got a chance to evolve into something else. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's more acceptable now than it was back when I picked up the guitar for the first time. So I see why it's this conflicting thing. But my kids, for example, they love everything from Taylor Swift, like Stranger Things. Metallica was on Stranger Things. Now my youngster loves Metallica because he saw it on Stranger Things, and then it was on Fortnite, and then he's singing, "Give me fuel, give me fire, give me," and I'm like, yes, that's amazing. But it's not through the normal avenue, like rock. He's picked it up from other. So I don't know what the answer is, bro. I'm happy that it's a bit more accepted now in this day and age, because music, I don't like genres. If a song is good, if an artist is good, let's just leave it at that. That's how I see it.
So I want to take you back to 2014 and the band being formed. Obviously then it took a few years to get the first album out. If you could go back now, what would you be telling Shane from 11 years ago? Maybe it's a bit of advice. Maybe it's, hey, we're going to get to play here. It's going to be great. What would you tell younger Shane?
Strap in and just don't eject. Like stay in it. Because there were so many moments where, you could have just pulled on that cord and eject and get out of that situation. Because it's incredibly hard. I can see why bands not give up, but just look at their life and just say, do I need this? Is it good? Is it worth it? Is the risk, what's going to gain from the risk? And it's not built to work for a band unless you have obviously money to finance going on touring, or you have real success through songs, and someone is financing it. Then it's nigh on impossible. It's not made to work. But the beauty of us is we just do it because we love it first, and we were in it long enough to create a fan base that appreciated what we did, that got on board and supported us, the Crow family, and we're still here, man, which is amazing and probably stronger now than ever. So I would have probably just said, it's going to get harder. Shit's going to hit the fan many times, but just stay in it. Because man, there were times where I could have got out of it. So many times.
I think this plays back into what we spoke about earlier as well, about, the way that music is funding now. And do you know what they used to say? So I used to hear from Iron Maiden fans that, Iron Maiden used to write albums so they could tour, and then they used to tour so they could sell t-shirts. But every step down that line now as a younger band, now the making albums isn't going to make you any money, by and large, because often you're self-releasing and you're giving it away for free. The tours, I've toured with some bands and seen, just the cuts and what people take from different places just go up and up and up. And then the merch, the next stage, the same things happening there. Like, do you see there's a break point with that? Like, or do you feel like it's up to bands to kind of be more creative, like, and also, do things differently?
I would love to see the industry change a little to support bands. We have seen a change with us, and I'm talking fairly recently, and that's only because, again, the fan base are allowing us to play bigger venues, are buying the tickets for. So obviously we did Cardiff Arena recently in December last year. 7,000 people come into a show. So your quantity of merch goes up. They're selling more. So it all kind of has that knock-on effect. But ultimately, I got to put it down to every single member of the fan base. They are literally helping finance what we do, so we can put on bigger shows, bigger production. And that's only happened fairly recently, dude. So, we've been together like 10 years now.
Yeah.
So it's an unbelievable 6, 7, maybe 8 years of hard graft where no one's helping you. And even when we signed with the record deal, there are certain things that they don't finance you with. They don't finance any of the touring and stuff. They just finance, obviously, marketing for the record. So you've got to find that money somehow.
Yeah.
So luckily we were a band that any money we made went straight into the Crow Kitty, and it stayed there ready for big tours to come on. If they came, we could go and do it. Like the Hollywood Vampires tour that we did in Europe and the UK a couple of years ago, we paid for that, and it was a huge amount of money, dude. But it was there because we'd saved every penny that the band has accumulated over 3 or 4 years, and we went and did it. So, again, it just comes down to how much you want it, being savvy, being wise, knowing that you are on your own. It is your business. No one's giving you, the green card here and just saying, or the credit card, I should say, go and spend whatever you want. Every piece of equipment that goes down, you got to replace. And, anybody that's toured, 9 times out of 10, something's breaking on tour by the time you come off it.
Yes.
And you've got to replace it. And it's an expensive hobby, man. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why this stuff doesn't work. And there's a lot of reasons why bands split up. Thankfully, we're just batshit crazy. And we love it. So we do it.
Well, tell us a little bit about one of the moments when it went right. What was because I feel like I've taken it down a negative route there, but what was one of those bright spark ping moments of the early days, and you were like, actually, yeah, this is going to happen. This is working. I've
never actually had the moment where it wasn't working, because after every show, it would progress to something else. So I always, as long as I'm seeing progress, I'm super positive. I'm really happy. It's the moment when you're doing shows and you're like, what are we doing this for? Didn't we do this like 3 or 4 years ago? And I remember, like, on this tour, we could have sold out, we could have played bigger venues. But when we did the arena, there was a lot of people on the Crow family pages on our socials saying, oh, that's it, we'll never see him at small shows anymore. And we were like, right, we'll do it. So we worked that out, the logistics with the record label and our TM, and we just said, yeah, we'll do it. But halfway through the tour, I was like, why are we doing this? Because you play in these smaller venues. We've got a big tour bus. We've got a big sort of crew. We've got the staging is bigger, all our equipment and stuff. And we're like, it doesn't work anymore. So it was tough, man. Like, certain venues didn't have showers and we'd have to go. So, it was just, we haven't thought this through. But we did it, and it was a good crack, and the response has been absolutely amazing on this tour. So, but yeah, I'm super positive as long as I see progression and there's a reason why. So
I guess when you've gone back from like an arena's backstage with showers and comfy chairs, and I don't know, somewhere like, I think is it the Bodega in Nottingham, where there's like the backstage is actually a toilet.
Yes.
Things like that, you don't want to go backwards, do you?
I'm sure that's actually the venue we got signed. We played a show there. Yeah, I'm sure that's the place we got signed.
Earache, I guess they're local, aren't they, to Nottingham?
Yeah. They came down to watch us and, asked if we wanted to sign that night. Yeah, amazing. That's mad you brought that up.
The gigs you said about taking, going out on the road, smaller shows especially, but I want to know, because you speak so passionately about your fans and the journey that you've been on with them, how do they, do you test out your new tracks on the road to them to gauge reaction?
Well, we've released a couple of new songs from the album, so we just thought we'd play them live and see how it goes in the smaller venues. And it was interesting, man. It was like, so everyone knows, I call them jokingly like the Crow classics, from album 1 to album 3. They all sing passionately Who Did It, Sin on Skin, All Blink of an Eye, Rock and Roll Ain't Dead. They sing that from the rafters, and it's loud. And then when he goes, I think I said, we're going to play a couple of new songs. Boom, pin drop. It was like,
really?
It was like it was like the nerves, because it was like, oh, they haven't heard this. They want to witness this. This is their first time hearing it, seeing it, experiencing it. So all I did, as soon as I just clammed up, I was like, holy shit, like, this isn't the norm. Normally it's like, I feed off that energy. Now it's like, boom, they're just watching.
Like an audition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, they would come in on the chorus parts, but they were taking it all in, which for us is amazing, because for them it's exciting too. Hearing new music for the first time is special. So I'm hoping by the time the next tour comes out, obviously more songs being released, but they'll know more of the lyrics and they can be as energetic with the Crow classics, but with the new songs. So it was weird but cool.
And tracks, I mean, you've got two sort of more, I don't like the term ballad. I'm going to go like more country rocky, The Night Train, for example.
Okay. Yeah.
But you've also got tracks like Fake. You've got Spit and Choke, like big, heavy tracks. Like, do you think all of these are going to get around out on the gigs, or are you going to be sort of sticking to the high energy ones?
Oh, 100%. We'll be doing... It depends how long the set is, and if we're doing an hour and a half, I think there's enough there to do sort of the new stuff, the slow stuff, and getting that set list right. So there's that high and lows, I guess. Yeah. But we've been recently playing No Surrender, which is probably the heaviest track on the record, and it feels so good. It's just the energy, because it's one thing doing it in the rehearsal room, but taking that energy on stage and then seeing what the crowd does with it. I think No Surrender it's going to be in the set list for a while. I think it's a real banger. But The Night Train is, myself, Ronnie, Lloyd, we can't wait to play that, man. So that'll definitely be in the set at some point later in the year, I think.
It's got some Load era Metallica vibes, that one, to me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I absolutely love, by the way. I'm quite outspoken in my views about 90s Metallica, for me almost probably being my favourite Metallica.
I have to agree.
But also No Surrender, a little bit electronic in there as well. What we were speaking about way earlier in the show, bands sort of blending elements and bringing extra things in. Yeah. But it works. And it's still... I mean, it's been said in interviews that every track on this album, you kind of been thinking of it that every one could be a single, which I definitely think it could be. But you've managed to tie it together as well into an album. I'm really interested in that creative process and how you managed to create this like just collection of bangers, essentially.
Thank you, bro. That's awesome to hear, man. I think the secret is to not think about it at all, because I think the minute you start thinking about it, you will start labeling or thinking, oh, we need this on the album, we need that on the album. We literally picked, I think, the best 10 songs we had on the table. And there was more than that on the table, but we picked the best 10. And then you make it work. Then you make it fit. Because I think if you're sacrificing song because it sounds a bit more like this, or it's got a flavour, the album's got a flavour, and it's got to be strictly to that, I think then you've missed out why you're actually playing songs, why you're in a band. The song is paramount. Song has to work, and then you make it work as a collective in a set list, on an album. So I think the secret is not to think about it. Just pick the best 10 songs and it will fit, it will work. Having said that, Fake, as you brought up earlier, that was supposed to be on the last album. Yeah. But it just, there were better songs. And I think it was just a little left field of Inhale Exhale, but it worked perfectly for this because it was so vast. The spectrum of slow country, hard rock, punky, Spit and Choke, the ballad, Still. It didn't feel like it was going to be in there on its own. It was, there's multiple variations on the album, so therefore it won't stand out.
It's the string arrangements in this one that stand out for me, running in the background. Like, how rich does that sound?
It's cool, isn't it?
You ever thought about Those Damn Crows sort of festival gig with a orchestra, that kind of thing?
100%, bro. I think about it all the time. I've after seeing Metallica do it, and I can see us Crows, the Royal Albert Hall, with that orchestra, playing songs like No Surrender, Fake. There's so many tunes we could do, man. Even Sin on Skin, even going through the old songs where we could have that orchestra do its thing and just make the songs. I've always been a huge fan of it, man. I just love it. I love I've gone to watch plays and stuff and operas and I'm on just for the band, just to hear the strings, just to hear the arrangements, just to hear that live music in a theatre. It's the universal language, man. There's no lyrics, but you get when when an orchestra are on top form, you don't need words. It's just like they're telling you how they're feeling. They're telling you exactly what you're supposed to feel in that moment. It's
emotive.
I love it. I get quite deep about it, but it's a beautiful thing, man. I love it. So I'm up for that.
So I got a question here, a little bit left field.
Yep.
You guys are a great festival band. This is for me, I think it's a fantastic festival album because there's a little bit of something for everyone in it. Added to, places for crowd participation, loads of stuff. You're headlining a festival. I was going to say Crowfest. Have you done a festival before with you guys, like called Crowfest? Has that happened, or am I just making this up?
No.
Okay.
There was talk of us doing something called Crowfest a couple of years ago, but it didn't happen.
So you're going to be headlining Crowfest. This is your festival, and you're going to be booking 3 bands to play before you. They could be any bands. Who are you going for? Let's start with the day's opener. Everyone's piling in, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, sun shining, beers being poured. Who's playing first?
Okay. I'm going to add here, the bands I'm thinking of are massive, right? So the fact that they wouldn't be below us, they'd be on top. But
that's
in
fine.
the thing of the question, Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters opening.
Yeah.
That's going to get everyone on board.
100%.
Everyone, that's good. Okay. What any particular Foo Fighters track you think they should be opening with?
Tender?
Oh, good. Nice shout. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So they come on. I think they've done their bit. Played a good... You got Foo Fighters on for 35 minutes. Lovely.
Unbelievable.
Who's on next?
I'd have Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. Okay. And what's Bruce coming on to?
Oh, okay. It's a bit slow, though. Streets of Philadelphia. I love that song. Would that get everyone going?
I mean, everyone could be tired out. They've just had Foo Fighters in, so maybe something to lull them into a sense of security is good.
Yeah. Or Born in the USA. Born in Bridgend, to be called.
I'm surprised he doesn't do that whenever he's at a new venue. Just change one of the lines.
Yeah, he must do.
He must do. Okay. So we've got Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
He's now off stage. He's hanging around with Dave Grohl, having a good conversation. Yeah. Who's coming on? The starter course now, before the main. This is, everyone's had their aperitifs or whatever. This is the big starter.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Queen.
Ooh.
Just watching Freddie doing his thing. Getting the crowd singing. All that. That would be... I'm not even sure the Crows were gone after that. I'd be like, nah, I'm done. Freddie's done it. He's killed it. Queen.
Queen. Love that.
Too many songs, man. The crowd will just lose their mind over and sing along, and absolutely insane.
I mean, the fact that their best of album was split into 3 albums kind of says a lot, doesn't it? Okay, that's really, really interesting. Really interesting. So, I sort of asked you to bring along with you some tracks for 4 big questions. And the first one I wanted to speak about is the track from the artist who inspired you the most growing up. And, you've spoken loads about your dad. Is it true he was the guy who sort of inspired the name as well, Those Damn Crows?
No, that was Ronnie's dad.
Ronnie's dad, okay.
Yeah.
But with your dad, Johnny Cash and Hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Cash was an unbelievable storyteller. He didn't write all the songs, but his voice and just how he spoke and sang, my dad used to play it constantly. So, Boy Named Sue, one of my favourite songs ever. But obviously then he did the cover, I think it was his last ever single, wasn't it? Hurt, with Trent Reznor wrote.
Yeah.
And then seeing the video as well, I was like, that is perfection. Whoever idea this was just perfection. Singing it, sitting on top of the top of the table with all that food, and he looked really old and frail. And then the lyrical content of the song Hurt, which is an unbelievable song. Yeah, I think Johnny Cash is probably the best storyteller that ever was. So he was huge. But it's because he was such an influence to my dad, who was then an influence to me. So again, that sentimental thing. So I'd probably say Johnny Cash.
It feels that as you're so influenced by the 90s stuff, it feels quite great that there's a sort of a 90s rock track being covered by Johnny Cash. It just feels right. But that's, you said about the frailties in his voice. Well, the frailties just in him in the video, but in his voice, that first line of him singing "I Hurt Myself Today."
Oh, mate.
Like,
don't it feel like he penned that? It felt like I believed every single word. And I know when I heard, obviously, Trent's version, it's different. It's completely different. But it's sang in a different way. But you're right, that opening line, it was like bang. It's like he just wrote that. It was like he just wrote it. The song felt new again.
Completely other side of the spectrum. I asked you to say the track from the artist who played the best gig you've ever seen. And you've gone for?
Muse.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching Muse in Wembley was just something I hadn't experienced before. Like, I've gone to watch so many bands, dude, right? And again, from my neck of the woods, rock music. So I've seen the Foo Fighters, I've seen loads.
Yeah.
But I look at them and think, oh yeah, I know it's a bigger scale, but I'm thinking, yeah, I do that on the stage. But it was the first time I looked at a band and saw the production. They had like hundreds of people, like an army of people came out and they were marching. They had this ballerina up on this spinning thing that was being hung from the ceiling. Matt Bellamy was on piano, spun off his piano, was throwing a guitar, chucked it on, and bam, and I was like, what is going on right now? My eyes were just like, I don't know. I've never seen that before in a show. It was awe-inspiring, man. I was like, wow, that is again another three-piece, and they're all incredible musicians. The bass player is an animal, and but Matt Bellamy was just he sounds like he should be singing classical songs, but yet he's got this rock vibe, the high-pitched voice. I was blown away, man. Visually, I thought he was stunning.
And he's a fucking riff monster as well.
Oh, mate, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Do you remember, I've seen Muse once, and it was Download 2015.
Okay.
Do you remember the controversy about Muse headlining Download? Like, we've spoken about this sort of changes in genres and things like that. Muse headlining Download was like, how? They can't do that. They're not heavy enough. Firstly, I mean, you can say, look at bands who play it now. Muse are the heavier by far than some of the bands that get picked now. But the way they tailored their set for that Download show and the way it sounded, it was stunning.
It was stunning. I remember watching it and I was just thinking, this is epic. But it's difficult. I think Biffy Clyro had a similar sort of vibe, and I know they shouldn't be doing it. They're not heavy enough. Sleep Token's getting a bit of bad press with Download. They've only been on the scene 2 minutes. I'm like, they're killing it right now. Like, I think it's great that at least the organisers are having a bit of a backbone and they're not picking the norm. And maybe as fans, sometimes you just got to go with it and see what happens. Don't write them off until they do the show. I remember that though, but their headline shows in these arenas that their production that they brought was another level. When I saw them at Wembley, I just thought it's unbelievable. But thankfully they got the songs as well, man. And they got the crowd going within seconds, didn't they? It was unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable show.
It's funny with Download because you've got the same people, you've got half people saying, why is it every year there's an Iron Maiden, a Metallica, a Kiss, and then the other half of people are saying, why are we getting these unproven bands that don't suit our style and all of that?
Exactly.
So moving on to a track from an artist you regret never seeing. Firstly, great track. You've gone for Aerosmith and Pink, and this is for me like probably one of my favourite Aerosmith songs. You regret never seeing them.
Well, we had tickets to see them. But they pulled out that show in London. They cancelled it. So we were devastated. And obviously we'd gone on tour with the Hollywood Vampires a couple of years ago, and I got very close with Joe Perry's guitar tech, Darren Hurst, and he was doing the tour for the Aerosmith tour. He was the guitar tech for Joe. And he was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if they're they're going to be able to do the tour. And I was like, why? And he said, I don't know. I just got this vibe. I got this feeling. And of course, it got cancelled. We bought tickets and it got cancelled. I immediately texted down. I was like, what's happened? He's like, I don't know, man. But I just had a feeling it weren't going to happen. So it was just, yeah, I almost felt, as soon as I got the tickets, I was over the moon, because I was like, this has got to be the last tour they're doing. So I'm so lucky and fortunate to get it, only for it to be cancelled. So yeah, I had a ticket, but they cancelled.
That makes it worse, the fact you had a ticket. Like, I've asked people this question and they sort of just say bands they regret, they just it never lined up. But the fact you had a ticket and
I had a
still
ticket,
didn't
dude.
get to see him.
The golden ticket, and it was taken away from me.
How was that Hollywood Vampires tour?
But we did the European tour with them, the leg with them. They were all outside. Oh, there was one indoors, actually, in Germany, that we did. And they were incredible, dude. I mean, Joe Perry came down. We were at soundcheck in, I think it was in Italy, if I'm right. No, it wasn't. It was Germany. Outside in Germany, and we were doing a sound check, and Darren, Joe Perry's guitar tech, was like, sorry lads, you're going to have to cut your sound check short. Joe's coming down to check his pedal board. I was like, oh, okay, dude, we'll all leave. He's like, no, just stay where you are. So Joe Perry comes on stage, and I'm as close, he's there.
Yeah. And
he's ripping riffs left, right, and centre with his pedal, and I'm like, this is insane. This Joe Perry, guitarist of Aerosmith, and Lloyd, who is the biggest Aerosmith on the planet, our bass player, is just like mouth to the floor, And because we got our in-ears in, he's secretly playing Aerosmith songs on the bass. Joe Perry can't hear, like.
What a moment.
He was there for about, 10, 15 minutes, working on his pedal board, and then he was just waved to us, said thanks, and off he went, and we carried on with our sound check. We were just like, but I got a photo of it.
Amazing. That sounds like one of those little, light bulb made it moments.
Man, it was, you're doing well as a band, and then you see the people that have just stapled rock gods, and Joe Perry's one of them as a guitarist. And then you see another level of fame with Johnny Depp, and it's that guy has got so much security. He can't just walk down the street. He's the most famous guy on the planet, and you'd always know when Johnny. They all came onto stage separately, and you always know when Johnny came on stage, because all the girls would just lose their minds and start screaming. But he was really cool, man. He was nothing but lovely, really quiet guy. Just looked at us waving CROWS and bowed, and he was all very sort of spiritual and, zen. He was really cool, man. Really cool.
One last track from these 4 big questions I like to ask, and it's the last track you really got into. And you picked a band who I think, again, you can track it back to that Johnny Cash kind of storytelling vibe, but a lot angrier. So tell us the track and the band.
Oh, yeah, man. King 810, absolute monster band. I remember the first time I heard this, and again, like I've said previous, this hit me like so hard. Like it affected me. I was driving home from a rehearsal in Cardiff, really dark night, and this song was blasting, Alpha Omega, and it's so angry, and it's storytelling, and it's quite dark lyrical content, but just hit me straight in the feels, man. I'm all for that. Whether it didn't fill me with obviously nice thoughts, it bothered me like to my core, and I was like, but that's what music is supposed to do sometimes. You know what I mean? Just give you a perspective, a spin on life, and I'm all for that. So the first time I heard that, I was like, I'm in. This band is insane. The singer's voice, unbelievable.
I'm assuming they haven't got anything to do with the tourist board of Flint, Michigan, because they don't really sell it, do they?
No, they really don't. But it was such a powerful song. That, do you agree? It's like
100%. It's his like. He sounds physically bothered by the words he sings. Like they managed to capture that through the microphone, that energy. And because I remember I was working in London in a radio station, a rock radio station in London when they first came out, and there was quite a big hype about them.
Yeah.
And I think, I guess no one will really probably see this any other way. It didn't quite reach that, but they haven't gone away, and it didn't feel like a fad, because they've still put out those raw, aggressive albums still since.
Yeah, I agree. No song has hit me like that one has. But when I first heard him, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so into this. This is unbelievable. From an artist point of view, do you know what I mean? I just totally respected it. Just again, telling it like it is in this demonic way. I think he says, the devil's got my throat. And it sounds like it has in the lyric. Unbelievable song. It's
a weird form of metal storytelling, almost like poetry in places.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I think the first album did have like 3 sort of, I guess, like poetry interludes, I guess.
It did, yeah.
Anyway, Shane, look, we've been talking for ages and it's been amazing speaking to you. But before you go, I just got to ask you to sell God-Shaped Hole. I'm going to give you, the floor is yours. I want you to tell everybody why they should go out and buy it, stream it, get the vinyl. I mean, the vinyl looks incredible, by the way. If you head over to your website, thosedamncrows, is it .com or
.com?
Thosedamncrows.com. If you head over to your website, thosedamncrows.com, there's so many different packages and different art forms and all of that with it, which is brilliant to see. But, I'm going to leave it to you. Sell us all God-Shaped Hole.
Thank you so much for the interview, bro. The album, man, God-Shaped Hole, out April 11th. I almost see it as a list of songs that we are in this place right now as CROWS. We've been together 10 years now, and we would never have written this album back in the day. It's an evolution of the CROWS, but keeping the authenticity there and the originality there. You'll be able to sing the choruses like any other CROWS song, but I think it's a special album. I hope you think so too. Go grab yourself a copy and let's see where it sits in the charts come the second week of April.
Number 3 to beat, isn't it?
Well, who knows now? Who knows?
Having listened to it, I can attest this, this could beat number 3. This is a fantastic album. It's got a little bit of something for everybody, and it is one of the best albums I've heard in a long time. Not just from you guys, not just in the genre. It's just a pleasure to listen to. So thank you so much for joining us here on Primordial Radio on the Radio Residency, Shane.
Thank you so much, brother. Thanks, Adam.